was a guy that wrote an article based on Scripture about homosexuality being okay. And so I saw it, two or three people posted it. And then finally, a gal who's old now, but she was back at Fayette Christian when she was a little girl. And there was a family situation, and there was homosexuality in the family, and so her brother posted it, and he said, I'm just looking for answers here, and then she said, Pastor Wayne, you're well studied. What do you think? So I started out by saying I don't usually get into arguments on Facebook. I said, so I'll just say, and what I said was it was fabricated. I mean, just the points that he made, the scriptures that he used, and said homosexual didn't appear in English Bibles until the Revised Standard Version. And before that, it never appeared in Scripture, and it wasn't intended out of, well, here's the thing, homosexual actually didn't become a word in American vernacular until 1929. And so translations after that used the word homosexual because the word really didn't exist in our vernacular before that. And then the points that he made, I mentioned, I said, it's not just 1 Corinthians 6:9 here. There's a lot of scripture that are just irrefutable, undeniable. And so, no, his points were fabricated. It's someone who wanted to justify his lifestyle and wanted to hang on to Christianity in some shape, form, or fashion. And so he wrote an article saying, I discovered that. It's not that at all. It's something entirely different. That's, of course, dismissing Leviticus 18 and 20 and Sodom and Gomorrah and Romans 1, 18 to 32 and Judges 19. That's just actually dismissing all of those which are so clear. And it's so bizarre, yet it's typical of what God-fearing people have faced for millennia. And I'm going to explain that to you. Here's what I said. You say, what culture war? Well, my Christian friend, that's going to make the war a lot tougher to win. I mean, if you don't recognize that we, as Christians, are in the fight of our lives, our first order of business is to recruit an army of culture warriors. Look around. What Christians have been warning about for a generation has finally arrived. It's at our doorstep. And many Christians are totally oblivious to the problem, even though the problem is massive. But simply, nearly all of the biblical foundational principles that were once revered in our nation are now treated as a blemish on civilized society. People who try to maintain a biblical value code are villainized to the point that they are literally intimidated into remaining silent. Now, do you think this trend will correct itself? Not a chance. In the book of Judges, chapter 6, Gideon faced the same scenario with his own nation, Israel, as they had been so intimidated by the Midianites that his own people sold out to the worship of Baal and Asherah. He tore down his father's altar to Baal. He also cut down the pagan Asherah pole next to it. And there he built an altar to Jehovah at the very same spot. The next day, Gideon's making a sacrifice to the God of Israel on that very same altar. Even though Gideon was doing the right thing, his own people of Israel wanted to execute him right there on the spot. In the spirit of keeping peace with the enemies of God, they not only tolerated their pagan gods, but they embraced them. Same thing happened with the notorious King Ahab and his lovely wife Jezebel. They gave Elijah fits with their rejection of Jehovah and their embrace of Baal and Asherah. God told Elijah that there was a remnant of 7,000 in Israel who were still faithful to Jehovah. What? Only 7,000 in all of Israel?
incredible. We're living today in a world where right is considered wrong and wrong is considered right. Yet it seems that most Christians just want to keep the peace. Make no waves. Listen, they're coming after us. And they are out for our total defeat. We need to build an army of cultural warriors, people who won't compromise with the attacks against God any longer. In one more generation, it'll be too late. Now's the time to fight, right now. This Sunday, I'll be preaching a message entitled, How Do You Win a Culture War? Now, I'll put the video of the message on our website, SouthPointeBible.org. Listen, believers, let's get into the fight.
All right, so winning the culture war. Problem is, and this is a huge problem, some of your largest evangelical churches have decided not to engage in the culture war problem at all. And because of that, they seem mainstream, and people who object, they seem weird. The reality is, and this is, when I was headed for Eastern Kentucky University, I planned 4 years at Eastern Kentucky University and then planned to go to the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary in Louisville, Kentucky, which is my hometown. That was my plan for life until I had this little misunderstanding with my parents and ended up joining the Marine Corps for 4 years. But I'm going to tell you, I would have never realized what has become critical, I mean just critical to my preaching, had I not gone to the Marine Corps. And Marine Corps was an eye-opener for me. I learned the power of sex. And here's what I mean. And I'm going to tell you, guys, you can explain it to your wives all you want to, but they will never, never, never understand the power that sexual desire has over men. They just never get it. Explain it. Just control it. Listen, whole empires have fallen because they couldn't control it. And when I was in Iwakuni, Japan, I wish everybody here, especially I wish I could just get a snapshot of one day in the shop in Iwakuni, Japan. Especially on a Monday morning when they've all come back from in town after payday. And every one of them, it seemed, I'm sure not all of them, but they were all talking about the sexual escapades they'd had. Because in the Marine Corps, a lot of those guys went into the Marine Corps, they had never smoked. They learned to smoke in the Marine Corps. They had never had a bit to drink. They learned to drink in the Marine Corps. And they were told that the test of real manhood is your sexual escapade, and that's what they talked about all day long. There is not a 5-minute period of time that went by, not exaggerating, not a 5-minute period of time that went on in the workday, in the barracks, when somebody wasn't openly and loudly talking about their sexual escapades. And guys kind of get it. Most guys get it completely. But women just think that, you're crazy, Wayne. It couldn't be that bad. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I went to become the youth Sunday school teacher. They had about 100 kids, 7 through 12th graders, that I got to speak to about 10-15 minutes on Sunday morning before they went into their classes. I went to the First Baptist Church in Memphis, Florida. And I was just kind of taken back after I got back from the Marine Corps, after going through the streets, the main gate going into Iwakuni, you have these women that were wearing something less than a mini skirt, and they were enticing guys to come into the bars. And then when I got back, and hot pants era had gotten here, and those teenage girls were showing up for the youth activities dressed in almost nothing. And so we had a youth camp, and I addressed it. I had the following Wednesday night when they had a business meeting, I had a string of women lined up behind me, And every one of them says, my husband doesn't think like that. I'm going, at one time, we got this like camaraderie with men, and and yeah, they didn't get it. Women don't. And today, what do we talk? We talk, doesn't matter how a woman dresses, how she looks, how she treats a man, still it's hands off, unless they throw out an open invitation. Because enticement is an integral part of our society today, yet even Christians are denying it. I learned these guys. It seemed like everybody in my shop of 40 had a relationship with one of the barmaids. They would go into the bar. The women would come up to them, sit down next to them, say, "You buy me drinks?" And they would buy them a drink. But their drink was watered down. And the guys would drink until finally she would invite him back to her place, and a lot of times they'd move in with them and pay their expenses while it was just the most. Some of the guys married, had a wife at home, writing letters, 2-3 times a week to their wives, and living with one of the barmaids. It was unrestrained sexual exercising openly. And I came out of that going, whoa, never saw it as rampant as that. Is there something different about a Marine? And I'm going to tell you, only in the fact that they felt comfortable in their surroundings expressing themselves, the inner thought known. And this is what I told my daughter, and this is what I tell my granddaughter. They know what's coming. And it's this. All men are dirtbags. And you say, no, they can't. Trust me. All men are dirtbags. Their intentions are evil. I don't care what kind of Christian home they grew up in. I don't care what you think. Oh, they're really nice guys. Yeah, but they're dirtbags. Listen, take my word for it. Everything in their mind revolves around one thing. And this is a world where what has made our society great in its heyday was a teaching, a Judeo-Christian teaching of moral restraint. Now that's going away. That teaching's not here anymore. Because it's always been about a lack of moral restraint. The culture war is not new. When we look at Israel's challenges, we see that the challenges that Israel had were a lack of moral restraint, because when you mix religion and sexual expression together, why wouldn't that be popular? As much trouble as Israel had towing the line for God under the Mosaic law, they freely went back and without even being solicited, or they went back to Baal. Why? Well, because there was this sexual component to Baal, and they loved it. In Numbers chapters 22 to 25, we see that Israel was on the brink of being corrupted by a religion that worshiped Baal and Asherah. Now, I've done a great deal of reading about this. There are some gods that kind of get mixed together. Baal, he stands there on his own. I'll show you some pictures of rock carved out that were Baal. But then there was Asherah, also sometimes conflated with Ashtaroth, even though they were different, or Astarte, or Ishtar, after whom we've named our Easter. All of these kind of conflated, but all of them had one thing in common. They were consorts to Baal. They offered that sexual component. So in Numbers chapter 22, remember the story? Balaam is called for his services. He was a prophet. What kind of prophet was he? Well, he was not a God-fearing prophet, but nonetheless, he's called a prophet, and he did actually not only did he get words from God, the donkey he rode on got words from God. So, kind of ran into family, if you know what I mean. So Balak, misunderstanding the job a prophet has, he calls upon Balaam to come up to the top of the high places where the altar of Baal, where they had several stations there, and look down upon the 2 million Israelites. And Balak said, I've hired you to curse these people. Well, Balaam, he can't get a clear signal to curse them, so they go to a bunch of different high places, and they look at it, and he still said, no, I can't do it. Well, then finally, God speaks to Balaam and says, here's what you're going to say. And whoa, he lets Balak have it and says, you can't curse these people. These people are the chosen people of God. There is nothing that anybody can do to put a curse on these people. But then Balaam plants an idea into their heads. And we're not given this backstory, but we are given the result, and the result is that while you can't put a curse on these people externally, you can corrupt them from within. How'd they do it? Baal and Asherah. Because this religion was based upon sexual expression. You know, it's just like in the New Testament time, there was the church of Corinth, and the church of Corinth was in the city of Corinth where there were 2 seaports, lots of sailors, and there was the temple of Aphrodite. 1,000 temple prostitutes. Part of the religion. Now, by the way, Aphrodite was another name for the Astarte, Ashtaroth, those gods that preceded them in different Canaanite and Greek cultures. And so here was a religion in a sailor town based upon free and open, no restraint sexual expression. Why wouldn't a religion like that be popular, especially to the guys? Why wouldn't it be? Well, of course. Of course it was. And here's what they did to corrupt Israel. The high priest of Baal's daughter was a priestess. And she and several of her princesses, they entered into sexual relationships with the men of Israel. Phinehas, the high priest's son, he's had enough. He takes the high priest's daughter's name was Cosby. I'm not giving many pagan women's names in Scripture, but her name was Cosby. And Phinehas takes and runs Cosby and the man through simultaneously with the spear. So, kind of gives you an idea what they might have been up to. And kills them both. And then there was a curse put on Israel, on these men who did that, and thousands were killed. Because a religion based on no sexual restraint, of course it's going to have followers. It's always been a society seeking no sexual restraint. I saw this actually first on Amy's page. I've seen it on several pages. And think about this, because this is something that I've been saying for a long time. Homosexual people is not new to our society at all. But it's never been something that people wore their sexuality on their sleeve. It's never been that you go, hi, I'm Wayne Turner, and by the way, I'm heterosexual. But now, here's where we are. The community has grown to accept. Now, it's come to the point to where people think. I saw a couple of different Gallup surveys. Number one, what's the perception of how many homosexual people there are in our society, percentage-wise? The perception in the survey, scientific survey, said 22 to 25%. Perception. In actuality, it's 3 to 4%. But because of the way our society has gone after a no sexual restraint norm, everybody's talking about sexuality. It's on all the TV programs that it shouldn't be. It's on commercial. Now, it's always been that if you wanted to advertise a product, all the way back to as long as we've had TV, you got an attractive woman to advertise your product. As a matter of fact, you go into where they use car parts and automotive, a great number of the salespeople that call those are women. They're taking advantage of the dirty old man syndrome. A woman, it has been proven, I took sales management at Georgia State University, women do better in business sales than men do. Why? Because all men are dirt bags. And so, you've heard the term sex sells? Well, before it was kind of something that was behind the curtain. Before it was something that wasn't thrown right into your face. But now what have we reached? We've reached the area of Baal and Asherah and Aphrodite, where it's just flaunted before Christians. And what's happened is Christians then have looked out and they have said, must be normal. Now they don't say that all at once, it's incremental. You give to here, and then you live that way, then you give to here, then you give to here, then you give to here. Until finally, we come to realize that our society has become blatantly unrestrained talk about sexual relations. The Adamic nature that every one of us was born with. One of the chief urges is that sexual expression. The guy on the left there, that's Baal riding on a bull. Matter of fact, riding on a bull, standing on his head and on his body. And then we have a couple pictures of Asherah, a couple of statues that were uncovered. These are thousands of years old. And Asherah was the consort of Baal, sometimes Ashtaroth. They got conflated. Ishtar, Aphrodite, different cultures, different names, same goddesses. And what were they? They were the religion of sexual expression. Let's face it, having a religion which practices free sexual relations with many people has always been appealing. To men, of course. So where Judaism and Christianity are based on a foundation of sexual restraint, that's contrary to the base nature of man. So while the judges and while the kings and the prophets had to keep pulling Israel back from worshiping false gods of Baal and Asherah, the people that marketed Baal and Asherah, all they had to do is open the doors. Why wouldn't somebody with an Adamic nature be attracted to that kind of no restraint environment? In Numbers 22-25, we have our first introduction of the heathen worship of Baal, and I told you about that. Over there on the east side of the Dead Sea there, you see where Ammon, and there's that place that's got at the end of the black arrow, Heshbon. That's where the children of Israel were when the Midianites way south and the Moabites just in red just below the Dead Sea. That's where they were when the Moabites says, we got to do something about these 2 million Jews because they're going to be a pain. And so that's when they enticed these men into ritual sex. When societies abandon sexual restraint, they fail. Kings have fallen. when they abandon sexual restraint. Presidential candidates have fallen when they abandon sexual restraint. Our society has come to the same place where Israel was many times with unrestrained sexual desire, and they will fall. Then we come to the book of Judges. So they go in, Joshua leads the people, they conquer Canaan, and they move in. In Judges chapter 2, we're just past the conquest of Canaan. And the people served the Lord all the days of Joshua and all the days of the elders that outlived Joshua, who had seen all the great works of the Lord that he did for Israel. And Joshua the son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died, being 110 years old, and they buried him in the border of his inheritance in Timnathserine, in the mount of Ephraim, on the north side of the hill Gaash. And also all that generation were gathered unto their fathers. And there arose another generation after them which knew not the Lord, nor yet the words which he had done for Israel. We got a generation that knew not World War I, knew not World War II, knew not the Vietnam era, knew not a lot of things that have gone before that have shaped who we are. And here they are. Millennials, by the way, are now categorized as, they wiggle around on the dates, but now millennials are those born between 1980 and 1999. And these millennials, after that's Gen Z. And these millennials are more likely to identify with being lesbian, gay, or bisexual than any of their predecessors. Now, why is that? It's the society. It's the society, because here we find they forsook the Lord their God, which brought them out of the land of Egypt, and followed other gods of the people that were round about them, and bowed themselves unto them, and provoked the Lord to anger, and they forsook the Lord and served Baal and Ashtaroth. Why not? Those were religions of unrestrained sexual behavior. Now we fast forward 150 years and we come to Gideon. At this point in time, the Midianites were giving Israel fits. They were coming in and ravaging they'd take their crops and leave them with nothing. Take their cattle, their crops, and they were joined by surrounding nations. Then the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, so the Lord delivered them into the hand of Midian for 7 years, and the hand of Midian prevailed against Israel. Because of the Midianites, the children of Israel made for themselves the dens, the caves, and the strongholds which are in the mountains. So it was, whenever Israel had sown, Midianites would come up also, and Amalekites, and the people of the east would come up against them. Then they would encamp against them and destroy the produce of the earth as far as Gaza, and leave no sustenance for Israel, neither sheep, nor ox, nor donkey. So here we are. The children of Israel forget who they are. In the Judges chapter 6, verse 12, the angel of the Lord appears to Gideon. All of Israel has sold into worship of Baal and Ashtoreth. And the Lord appears to Gideon. Now it came to pass that night that the Lord said to him, take your father's young bull, the second bull is 7 years old, and tear down the altar of Baal that your father has, and cut down the wooden image, that's the Asherah pole next to it, the consort, that is beside it, and build an altar to the Lord your God on top of this rock in the proper arrangement, and take the second bull and offer a burnt sacrifice with the wood of the image which you shall cut down. So, what he does it at night, because he's a little iffy about this whole thing. And people wake up the next day, and they go look, and their Baal altar is gone. And an altar to Jehovah, Israel's God, but they had forsaken Israel's God. And the altar has on it a bull that is being sacrificed. And so are they happy? Are they happy to be free from Baal worship? Well, no. See, Baal worship had its perks. This stiff old Jehovah worship, it's not nearly as enjoyable as Baal worship. They want to execute. They want to execute Gideon for doing the right thing. There they are being tormented by the Midianites and the Amalekites and the people from the east, and yet deliverance, they happy about that? No, they just want to kill Gideon. The no sexual restraint religion had become very appealing to the Israelites. Some people have asked me what was it like in the 60s. And you know, when the 60s began, it was really, really normal. I think a lot of young people don't realize that. And as a matter of fact, it wasn't until, because we were winning that war in Vietnam. Now, by the way, none of us wanted to be there, and I think they might have lied to us about whether we were winning the war. But it was obvious in February of 1968, on the Tet Offensive, when they came, the Vietnamese, with this huge onslaught attack, and everybody was discouraged, and the movement. As a matter of fact, young people, they're always doing this in their pictures, And let me tell you, back in the 60s, when you were in the military and people were doing that, they were saying, many of them, we hope our soldiers get killed because we don't belong there, we want out. They were draft dodging, and this was a nasty symbol back in the 60s. That's why I hate to see it resurrected. Oh, it means peace. Yeah, it meant peace back then. But that's why Evelyn, every time she sees something on TV back in the 60s, there's that old hippified mess again. The hippified mess. Society changed in Woodstock. Huge concert up in New York. Where they say, if you remember Woodstock, you weren't there, is what they say. But I remember when it was going on. And our nation was never the same as that. Those people at Woodstock, with the free love, the free expression, the no moral restraint, they're grandparents now. And they blew it with their kids, and their kids have really blown it with their kids. Because now we have a society that is a no sexual restraint society. But we have a big Baal showdown over in about 874 BC or so. It's Ahab is King Ahab. He is a bad man. As a matter of fact, here's what it says about Ahab. He was more wicked than any of the kings before him. Plus, he married a wife who was daughter of King Esbal, and she was a big time Baal sponsor. And as a matter of fact, she had 600 years after Numbers 22. She had a contingency of Baal and Asherah prophets, 850 of them. And so here's Elijah. This is the first time we hear about Elijah here in 1 Kings chapter 17. And Elijah the Tishbite of the inhabitants of Gilead said to Ahab, "As the Lord God of Israel lives, before whom I stand, there shall not be dew nor rain these years except at my word." So Elijah, and I don't know, if you're King Ahab, you're saying, yeah, like you're going to be able to stop the rain. Well, Elijah hightails it into solitude for the next 3 years. And it came to pass after many days that the word of the Lord came to Elijah in the 3rd year after that first occurrence. "Go present yourself to Ahab, and I will send rain on the earth." So Elijah went to present himself to Ahab, and there was severe famine in Samaria. Why? No rain. It was God making a point. You can't be a worshiper of God and have at the same time this unrestrained sexual activity religion of Baal and Asherah. You can't do it. They don't mix. So what does Elijah do? Well, Elijah calls upon Ahab to bring the Baal and Asherah priests for a showdown, 850 of them. It's a showdown to see who's got the best altar presence. And it's a contest. Who has the most powerful gods? So it's Baal and Asherah priests. They work all day at it. They start cutting themselves and screaming and bleeding. And they're trying to call fire down from the sky to consume their sacrifice, but nothing all day long. So Elijah, he comes in, he has them to water down 3-4 times. Till the water in the ditch around the altar is just the ditch is full of water all around the altar. The altar is soaked. And then he calls upon God with fire from heaven and consumes the sacrifice. Now you know how usually after a contest, you line up, especially Rick Ball, and you high-five everybody, you go by, good game, good game, good game, good game, good game. Not this day. Elijah has 850 Baal and Asherah priests executed. Big time loss. Big time loss. So what does Elijah do then? Has them executed, but then Elijah falls into the depression. You think you'd be exuberant over the win, but you know what he's done? People who have made their lives and centered their lives around a religion that has no sexual restraint, they're going to be upset. What? Baal worship is gone? Really? No, it's not just our society. This lack of sexual restraint has been an earmark of society going all the way back to the garden. It's always been that way. Any movement to normalize a society with no sexual restraint is going to be popular. Let's face it. The culture war, it's going to be hard. And the reason it's going to be hard is because people who are into, no, let's not really rehearse about our sexuality. Our sexuality needs to be worn out front. It needs to be a badge of honor. We need to, and that's, by the way, what one party is all about today. What is abortion about? It's about uninhibited sexual activity. And so somebody's got to die for that, and it has to be the innocent baby who didn't do anything. What's this blatant outcry of I'm gay, I'm lesbian, I'm transgender, what's all? What a moniker to be known by. Yet it's becoming normal. I was talking to a student at the Kennesaw College a few months back, and they'd had this rift that made the news about the LGBTQ center up there. Of course, they have to have one. It's government required. And I thought, well, that's way exaggerated. I said, they're not really into that transgender stuff. And he showed me actually an email that he got from the president of the college with the pronouns that he is to be addressed with. I'm going, well, who thought we would come to a place in our... I didn't see this one coming. I've been talking about all kinds of things that were going to happen for 40 years. Whoever thought we'd come to a point in time where you could not trust the biological sex of a child because that may not be what he is. Dr. Laura lost her radio program for a period of time. Got it back because she referred to homosexuality as being biologically deviant. Is that a correct description based on the hardware? That's absolutely. Yes, it became politically incorrect to say it. Now, today, it's hate speech. So we've come to a point in time where in this culture war, just like in the days of Baal and Asherah, just like the days of Aphrodite, to where our culture won't tolerate our bigotry. And all we want to do is just hang on to the Word of God. That's all we want to do. I submitted, what I like to do is I like to make a video, and then I like to post it. And it really, really helps when you all share the video, because we need to get the word about our church out, okay? Unless you're embarrassed by the video, then I get it. But then what I like to do is I like to pay Facebook to boost the video, to put it on the Facebook desktops of people who I don't even know, people in the area. So I picked 4 zip codes that are radius around our church, and I say, please boost it to this area. Now, it used to, when I boosted a video, I'd get it approved in 15 minutes. The one I did 2 weeks ago, it took a day and a half. I thought they were going to turn it. They turned down the one I did about 2 months ago and said, no, we're not going to do that. Was the one on abortion. And this one, I submitted it on Wednesday night. I thought I'm going to get in early so I can get, several days of getting this out there on people's desktops. It didn't get approved until Friday afternoon, about 2 or 3 o'clock. And it was just about the culture war. And I'm guessing there were some discussions. Do we let it go or do we not let it go? And I'm pretty sure that the discussion went, we'd like to disapprove it, but then we're going to get this outcry. And listen, the people that control the media, they're controlling the culture right now. There aren't enough of us who will stand and who will care. There aren't enough of us who will boycott buying from businesses that are blatantly anti-Christian. There aren't enough of us that will do it because we love the products and the things they carry too much. Now, by the way, I have to set a limit because otherwise you just need to live in the woods and kill your own food. But when they try to market, on this, I just say, no, because what you're doing is saying, I don't care. I don't care how many thousands or hundreds of thousands of Christians there are, they'll get over it. We're going after this transgender. We're going after this market share. When less than 0.4% of the nation's population surveyed identify as transgender. But they blatantly go after that market, knowing that they are flying in the face of Christianity, but Christians won't care. We won't do anything about it. Now, I hope you're going to be with me. I hope that if, in fact, as the CEO of Disney says, that I hope that we will boycott all Disney products, including the Marvel movie series, if they boycott our state for movies. I hope we're up to that. But you know what? I'm afraid there aren't enough of us that are, because the media, right now, they're beating us. So what's the answer? The answer is we've got to be fierce. We've got to be just as determined as they are. We've got to be out there. I don't want anybody to think that I hate them. Now, it doesn't matter if you speak out, if you just say, well, my Bible says that this is wrong. That is pretty close today to hate speech. No, the culture war right now we're losing, and you know what brought Israel back time after time after time? Tragedy. National tragedy. After a war, people come back to God. After close calls, people come back to God. We've had too much prosperity for too long, and people have abandoned God, and they love a no sexual restraint society, just like they embraced Baal and Ashtaroth, Aphrodite, just like those pagan cultures embraced no sexual restraint. That's where we are in our culture today. And it's only us that can make a difference. It's not new, and it's never won. But I'm not going to just lay down and take it. I'm going to gather everybody that'll go with me, and we're just going to stand, and we're going to stand, and we're going to stand and say, no, we're not going to bend. Let's stand together.